Live, AJ.
Hello, hello, Great Debate League. We are here, the administrators or the commissioners, rather, of the Great Debate League, and we're going to give our post-debate analyst of the presidential debate. So, since we are a debate league, we want to go ahead and analyze the presidential debate that went on this evening. So, what you guys think about the debate?
Go ahead, Ebony. You take it first.
I missed some of it because I was looking. I messed up online. However, it was pretty go. The back and forth. Ask questions. They did kept. They wanted to take more time and talk, but some from just not what I agree with, not what was factual, but from a debate performance. Something that I will say that I thought was a good tactic with for Donald Trump is that he asked Joe Biden some direct questions. And I didn't at least I didn't see all of the debate, but the part of the debate that I did see, there were a couple two or at least three questions that Donald Trump actually asked Joe Biden directly. Like he asked them about the cages when they were talking about the children at the borders. He asked him directly about oil and, well, what are you going to do? Get rid of the oil industry? Like, he came pointedly to him. He asked him, why didn't you do it during your time that you were the vice president? All these things you say you're going to do now. So whether or not, you know, regardless to maybe some of the content, I think from a debate perspective, being able to ask your opponent some tough questions, because there were cases where Joe Biden really didn't respond or either tried to, maybe brush past those questions or whatnot, but he kept pushing him on some questions that I thought from a debate perspective was a good tactic.
What do you think, Mitor?
I mean, I thought it was a pretty boring debate in comparison to their first debate, which was very lively, and then the Kamala Harris Joe Biden
What do you
VP
think,
debate with
Mitor?
the fly on both of them. Um, so I mean, this one was kind of run of the mill. They asked questions, they answered it. I do agree with Ebony that Trump was hitting Joe Biden very hard towards the end, asking him direct questions, which were very valid, that Joe Biden had to dodge and not answer, because if he did, it would just, make him look more inept. But I think Joe Biden did pretty well in the debate when it came to just speaking. Like he didn't look like his cognitive deficits were hampering his debate
Mm-hmm.
performance, too
Mm-hmm.
much. So the
Too
first one,
much.
it was definitely very obvious. This one, because he
You
had more
did
time
see
to
some.
speak, he could collect his thoughts.
You saw some classic Joe Biden gaffe moments though.
I mean,
Like
he's
he was
always had
just.
gaps, even before he had like the cognitive issues.
But I will say this. There's a show that comes on Showtime. It's only two parts. It's called The Comey Rule. And what the Comey Rule was pretty much about James Comey and about his decision during his tenure in office, primarily the latter half of his career with the FBI. And there's a part in there that stuck with me. One of the agents tells Comey Trump can take a beating, but he can't take a punch. Which means he could be hated by everybody, but if you attack him personally,
Mm-hmm.
he'll fall apart. And one of the things
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that he was falling apart on some of those questions. Now, Joe Biden, he should have kept going on some of those, like with the border question
Yeah.
about the kids, the separation from the border. He had him on
Mm-hmm.
the ropes with that one, and he kept trying to
He did.
deflect, like, "Oh, this is you.
Mm-hmm.
You built the pins," but he never talked about the kids,
Mm-hmm.
right? Joe Biden, and I think Joe Biden was pulling his punches again because the Democratic Party wants to seem somehow appealing to white racists.
Well, I mean, but he really can't. He can't throw real haymakers at Trump because Joe Biden is a moderate Republican.
True.
So I
Moderate
mean,
Republican or Democrat?
he's a moderate Republican. I mean, because
I don't
the
know about
party
the
and the
debate.
politics
I
of
don't
the
know
Coast
if I
is
can
so
say
much
that
towards
either.
the right. You know,
Yeah, I
there's
don't know
nothing
if I would
about
disagree
him.
with that.
You know, you know. So he's appealing to never Trumpers now because he's not
Mhm.
radically different from if he would have ran in like the early '90s as like a Bush, as like Bush one. So
Mhm.
he's not radically different. You know,
Mhm.
he just seems left in comparison to somebody who like every 24
It's
hours
so
on Twitter
yeah.
posts like some conspiracy theory stuff or some nonsense. You know, it has no decorum. You know, stuff like that.
Um, go ahead.
One,
Go ahead, Evan.
I want AJ. You said this a little bit, but I was trying to make sure we shared this video to our debate league group. But you forgive me if you mentioned this more earlier, but something that I think is important is the way that the debaters look, and regardless to what we say, the way you present yourself, you know, and come across. And the portion of the debate that I was able to see, some things like in Joe Biden's face, he just looked, I don't know if the lights or I don't know what it was, or I don't, it just some parts he just looked strained to me, you know, like strained in a, I don't know what word I'm looking for right now, but he just looked strained, which I think people pay attention to how you look, you know, and how you present yourself when they're deciding for representatives. But there's a lot going on now that I feel regardless, people are, you know, a lot of people basically made their minds up about how they're gonna vote. But
Not
from
only
a,
did they make the well, not only did they make their minds up, a lot of people have already voted.
yeah,
You know, so
yeah,
this isn't really going to change anything. I think that like this was a little bit better. I think that I think that the structure was a little bit, just a little
yeah.
bit better. Um, I think that the first one was more entertaining. The first one was more entertaining,
Absolutely.
but again, um, I think that I've seen better debates on the Great Debate League, as far as I'm concerned. You know, and even with
My,
Kamala Harris
hmm
and Mike Pence,
hmm
they, you know, I've seen better debates on the Great Debate League in some of those situations that the debaters were going through.
What were
But
you looking for, or what do you think would have made it a better debate?
if Joe Biden would have pressed him more,
Hmm.
if Joe Biden would have stuck to his guns and stopped pulling his punches and stopped trying to be the likable Joe and really go after Trump on some of those questions, like the race question, like
Hmm.
the children being left at the border question, like the healthcare question, like he should have pressed him on every single one. Because what all Trump was trying to
Climate
do is just break,
change.
huh?
Climate. I mean, I'm just saying that when the discourse about climate change and
Yeah,
what Donald Trump said Joe Biden and his party wanted to do.
there's no reason Joe Biden should have let him go with the kids being at the border. Like their parents are not ever, they're never going to see their parents again. He
But
touched on it. He said, "Oh, that."
I'm saying he can't go that hard because President Obama and him started the whole cage thing. So he
Which
can't go
that's
that
what
hard.
I'm saying from a debate perspective. At least the tactic of pressing, you know, Joe Biden on pointed questions, because he kept saying, "Who started the cages, Joe? Who start?" Like, you know, it's like, so what are you gonna say? And so I mean, like I said, most people have already made up their minds and voted, but at least from us, from an analysis perspective, he did directly ask him some questions that Joe Biden didn't appear ready to or willing to answer.
Because I would have to agree with I mean I really can't I don't know if I would completely agree, but I cannot argue the statement that Mutor made. I mean, if he could look, Joe Biden's been around for a while.
Yeah.
And on some of his stances, I mean, a moderate Republican would be fair.
But I think the other thing that I feel, again, and I'm just purely talking about debate tactics, I'm not talking about contents of what they were saying, but something that Donald Trump did come at him again was, why haven't you done it already? Like, you're saying these are the things that you're going to do, but you've already been in the Congress. You've already been the vice president. So why haven't you done these things already?
Which I found interesting as a question, because he catches Joe Biden, because Joe Biden can't say he didn't get it done, because he can't say I didn't get it done because I wasn't the president, because then he can't use the Barack Obama's presidency as a record for himself. So he's left out in the cold in that kind of debate tactic. He's like, well, I can't say I didn't do it or I could do it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, a fish out of water. So I think that's an interesting tactic.
Yeah.
Personally, this is the reason why I think that Joe Biden would have been a bad pick. I mean, not would have been, is a bad presidential pick for the Democratic Party, because he carries the same baggage that Hillary Clinton does.
Which is?
I'm saying that his son, Hunter Biden, whatever he was doing, Trump is being able to pull up some dirt, whether it's, I haven't been able to vet it yet. But
yeah, I haven't vetted it either, but I don't think he has the same kind of baggage as the Clinton operation.
Well,
I mean,
he voted for
Hillary and Bill Clinton, they have decades of like dirt, and it just piled to the point where Trump looked like, to some people who are cool with racism and right-wing populism, he looked like a better pick than Hillary Clinton, who looked like, a very center-right neoliberal.
Well, what I'm saying is that
a whole bunch of baggage.
The crime bill itself, when he was in the Senate, the crime bill itself looks bad. Not only that, he's sided with segregationists in the past he's been in government since the 70s, right? And like I said, he sided with segregationists when it comes to the busing situation. He's also he signed off on the crime bill, which created the mandatory sentencing that he's trying to get rid of. Like, it's a lot of stuff that he has done over his congressional career that's now coming back to bite him in the tail, as opposed to a Bernie Sanders. That's what I'm saying, is that opposed to a Bernie Sanders, even if Bernie Sanders if they try to pin this idea that socialism is the way that Bernie Sanders is going, Bernie Sanders could flip it and say, well, what is Social Security? Did y'all freeze on me?
No, I didn't freeze.
I'm listening.
I mean, he could. There's a lot of people who wouldn't say Social Security is socialism, but there's other people who would say it's a form of democratic socialism. There's different variants. But they still came with that kind of, line of attack on Bernie Sanders. They were like, oh, well, you were in Congress for all these years. What did you get passed? What kind of large bills did you get passed that really helped to shape America? And so the same kind of, and I don't think it's the best criticism, because even if, like, let's say Joe Biden authored or was given by right-wing organizations the 94 crime bill, he's still one person among many who signed off on it. So it's like, do we give Joe Biden all of the credit for that bill, or do we give the Congress, who said, yeah, they're super predators and they should be locked up, and dog whistling these racist kind of ideas?
And
Go
he
ahead.
did make the statement, all 100 senators voted for this bill. You
Oh
know,
yeah, I
if
didn't
you
even hear
heard
that.
what he
Okay.
said, yeah, he said all the Congress people voted for this. So he included that it wasn't just him, you know, like that it was everybody. I want to ask y'all, what did y'all think of the closing statements?
I mean, I,
Yeah.
It
I
was
mean,
nothing
they weren't
like to
that
rave
impressive. I mean,
about.
I couldn't hardly
They
remember it.
weren't memorable.
Right.
That's what
No.
I was just about to say. They weren't memorable.
I've seen better closing statements on the great debate. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no.
mean,
I
it
will
wasn't.
say that Joe Biden did like pull a heartstring when he said, you know, it is about the character. I just remember that, at least in his closing statement, that he talked about it being about the character of our country and decency and morality. And, you know, he was saying those types of statements. But I do think they, for the most part, their closing statements were just not memorable.
And it reminds me of
I
something
agree.
that you said on the radio show. Um, if the election, if
Well, for
Trump is
people
so
watching, AJ and I do a radio show,
yeah,
just
for everyone that's watching, me and
information.
Ebony do a radio show
It's a
titled
really good
after
show.
Ebony.
Thanks, Vitor. Vitor's been
Thank
on
you.
too.
He's been a guest. Dr. Strobel has been a guest.
Yeah. But go
And
ahead.
it's named.
What'd you say?
It's before you go. It's named after Miss Ebony Johnson. It's called Ebony's Bones. So on the
That's
show, you stated something that I would have to agree with. You said if Trump is so bad, why is the election so close?
mm-hmm.
And that stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
That I mean, that continues to stick with me for people that consider themselves undecided.
Mm-hmm.
Because at this point, no, I mean seriously, I was thinking about that this evening while I was listening to the debate, and I was thinking at this point, if you don't know who you're voting for, if you're still undecided about Trump, whether you like Biden or not, if you're still undecided about Trump, that says a lot about you.
Well, there are
It
also
does.
people. I saw someone who's been a longtime activist that I'm Facebook friends with, and he said that he's not voting in this election, and he's an older black gentleman, and he said that he's just not going to. I think he has a lot of concerns about what is going on in our country and what's been going on, and he's making the stance that he's not going to vote this time. And so
Well,
I think that you have people who are tired of all of it. Quite frankly.
I get it. I get
Mhm.
why somebody would consciously not want to vote,
Yeah.
but strategically speaking, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense because
Not at
then they
all.
just join the 50% of Americans who can vote but do not. Politicians don't listen to those people.
Mhm.
Those people, when they're surveyed, they have a lot of more leftist, more progressive ideas about how the country should be run, and politicians don't care about you because you don't vote, so you don't
But
make any difference.
what do you say about our electoral college system and how there are only certain states, the ones they always look at as the swing states? For instance, if I live in a state where it's pretty much a certain like it's gonna go this way for the most part, how much does my vote matter?
Right,
Because
and
we
it,
don't vote, we don't choose by popular vote, we choose by the electoral college.
right, and the strategy there is that, okay, if you're in a swing state or if you're in a purple state, something to that effect, what you want to do is you want to vote the party that I'm sorry, if you're in a red state, right, when it's going to become red, like a Florida,
Yeah.
but you're blue, right? What you do is you can vote in those states for like third parties where you don't really have to be
Yeah.
beholden to the Democratic or Republican Party. You would go for maybe a Green Party or a Progressive Party or something to that effect. That shows that, hey, your
Which
numbers
is
are out there, that you are not beholden to any party.
which is
Mutor sounded
another
like
issue
Noam
for some
Chomsky.
people. You know, some people, I've gotten into some discussions and debates with people about you know, we have this saying, vote. It doesn't matter who you vote for, but a lot of people don't really mean that. They don't really mean it doesn't matter who you vote for. They actually want you to
Especially,
vote the way they want you to
Oh
vote.
yeah,
Because if
absolutely.
you say you're voting for a third party, I mean, there are some Democrats that
People
will
lose
just
their
throw out
minds.
the leashes on you. They're
livid.
like, I'm like, wait a minute. I thought it was just vote. Like, you know, it doesn't matter who you vote for. But if you say you're voting third, well, you're throwing your vote away. And I'm not, hey, I will be the first to admit that a lot of the way this system is set up, I really don't get some of it. And I think some of that is intended, quite frankly. But I will say that my concern is as long as we keep doing things the way that we've been doing them, the system is going to keep being the same system that it's been. You know, like it'll never change because we keep acquiescing, you know, which I'm not saying that people shouldn't vote their strategy and say, hey, this is how we do it. We get this person in office and then we hold them accountable. But do we show history of actually holding people accountable to things that we say we want done, regardless of who the president is, you know?
I will say this. First off, I will completely agree with the ideology that people say, hey, you just go out there and vote. Especially my older African Americans, when they mean go out there and vote, they mean go out there and vote their way. Because when you tell them you're voting
Yeah,
any other
they
way, they
do.
get upset.
They do.
That's number one.
Mhm.
Number two, I think the state and local elections are much more important
Mhm.
than the presidential election, as long as we have the electoral college. Now, I personally think that the Democratic Party again has went the wrong way, because if I was the Democratic Party, as I was if I was the chairman of the Democratic Party, I would be pushing to try to get the Senate and the House, maintain the House and keeping the Senate, and then the president can't really do too much of nothing.
Mhm.
Well, I
Yeah,
won't say
I don't.
anything. I won't say anything, but it's going to be difficult for him to get things like Supreme Court picks, for him to push through. For example, the whole impeachment situation would have went totally different had the Democrats maintained the Senate. It would have been a totally different ballgame.
Which is something, just bringing it back to the debate performance, something that Joe Biden said. He said, well, we had a Republican Congress. Remember, it was, I forget which question it was,
Yeah, it
but
was
it was
towards the end.
yeah, it was towards the end. And it was again when Donald Trump was pressing, like, why didn't you get it done, Joe? Why didn't you get it done?
It
But
was
even but even but even that isn't valid. All right.
Yeah,
So when Barack Obama got the ACA passed, you know,
he
he
should have
waited
rammed
a
it
long
through.
time. He waited a long time until it became a Republican controlled House and Senate, when he could have
and
passed,
and
the ACA that was more progressive, that was more of a universal healthcare program.
And
So
let's not forget, because they should have rammed it through, that they actually had a public option. And the idea of a public option was the Democratic Party, and they stopped it. They were able to stop it. And
Mhm.
because Barack Obama and the Democrats were trying to seem bipartisan, which they should have done what the Republicans were doing, which is say, boom, we're going to ram this through, and then y'all got to try to fix it later. Boom, we're going to run this through,
right.
because they had a Democratic
Hey,
president, a House, and a Senate.
Hey, Ebony, could you put
Yeah.
that last one up for me
Yeah.
again
Okay.
from Lyle Gibson?
Hmm.
So look at South Carolina, Kentucky, and Kansas. Democrats are giving some Republicans a run. I would like to
Yes.
see the actual results. I mean, everything looks good in the polling, but let's see if they actually
What
win.
happened?
What happens
Yeah.
when they win? Because
Because
it's
Yeah.
Kentucky,
what
it's Kansas, and it's
Mitch
South
McConnell
Carolina.
doesn't Mitch McConnell comes out of Kentucky, and Lindsey Graham comes out of South Carolina, correct?
Hmm. Yep.
So but you push those seats, you flip those seats. That's major.
If that's a big if. We're still talking about
If
South Carolina,
You know,
Kansas, and Kentucky.
how much do y'all think that these debate performances impact the the full vote, you know, all the like what's going on across the
Well,
board
well,
with voting.
well, the stats that I've seen show that
this
these
much.
debates don't have any real significant meaning to how people are going to vote once the election, once they start to vote. So it
Yeah.
really has no teeth in this. No teeth.
This much because Trump's voters are already in the bag for him. If
Super in the
and
bag.
honestly, if you're undecided at this point, personally for me, that says a whole lot about you. If you're
Yeah, I mean,
undecided about this,
I would say if you're undecided right now, then you're probably going to vote for Trump because the obvious things that should be, danger zones for you, don't come up. So if
like
those aren't coming
endorsing
up,
white supremacy, endorsing
like
white supremacy,
coronavirus, like all the kind of things, if those don't make you go, well, I don't think I'm going to vote for Trump, then if you then
But
you vote for
honestly,
Trump.
there could be some undecideds who are going to decide not to vote. I honestly think that there could be some undecided people who are saying, I don't even know if I'm going to. I mean, you know, um, there's talk now about Ice Cube doing the contract with Black America and him, you know, saying we shouldn't, as Black people, you know, they should have to agree to certain things before we say, yeah, we're just willing to vote for you. And
So,
so, go ahead.
well, I'm saying, so the
but
problem with that is, and I'm with Cube
Mhm.
in theory. The problem is you don't push a plan at the nth hour with no organizational backing and no leverage and start talking about a boycott that will never occur. So
hold on,
again, there's no teeth. There's no teeth in it because there's no organization, there's no Black population that's going, yeah, I'm with what Cube is saying. They're all going, the people who vote, which are older Black people, are going, hey, I'm going to go and vote for Joe Biden, even though I don't agree with anything he has to say. And I really agree with progressive policies that were actually pushed by Bernie Sanders, but I'm still going to vote for Joe Biden because Barack Obama. That's pretty
Yeah.
much what they're
I
doing.
will
That's from,
I will say this. Why don't we just hold off on that debate because GDO 12 is still in the process, and I
Yeah.
don't want to speak on too much on
Well,
that.
I don't want to
That's
I
true.
didn't bring it up. I didn't bring it up for a debate. I just brought it up for the purposes of discussing people actually deciding who they're going to vote for, and you know,
No,
and vote.
understood.
But I
Because
do
I
think
don't.
we need to wrap up.
Yeah. I'm just saying that I don't want to give my opinion on that because I kind of agree with Cube. Well, not kind of. I mean, I look at Cube as being one of the pioneers of this, and I understand why he was doing it. I support why he was doing it, but I'm still going to reserve a little bit of how I feel about that until after GDO 12.
Well,
fair
yeah,
enough.
we'll see. We'll let and if y'all think, well, when is GDL 12? We're still trying to set that up. So hopefully we'll be able to bring that to you soon, and we'll let you all know. Any final comments on the debate performance of tonight before we sign off?
It was a wash.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a little bit more entertaining. I thought Trump was going to try to jump in and try to interject with the mic off. That's why I pretty much watched it because I was like, he's going to try to. But I will say that it was all
That would
right.
have been cool.
It was more of a structured debate, but you could tell
Yeah.
that Trump was pissed on some of those. Like he couldn't get a word in. He was tapping on the podium. Um, so yeah, but it was. I mean, it was an okay debate. Yeah. How about
Yeah.
you, Miss Jones or Johnson?
That's I didn't that's what I just felt watching the part of it that I was able to see that it was just okay. I which is interesting to me because you know sometimes I think you know depending on how the structure is whether or not people feel it or not, but for these to be two gentlemen that are running for president, I think that I would be looking for it to be more, you know, to be a richer exchange, to be
Not with
uh
Trump though.
no, but I'm
Like
just saying
what I said with the
period.
last
I mean
debate.
that
This is
period.
this is this is white mediocrity in full effect. That's
Mm.
what it is.
I had to play a
But
little game with this one. Anytime Trump did this little thing, take a drink.
man, you probably be wasted.
That Mutor, that's an interesting that statement. Because it, I do feel as though it was just like, we're sitting there watching the two
Well, I mean,
candidates.
white supremacy gives white males the backbone to be mediocre and feel that they are the smartest people in the room. And so
You
that's
are
what you get. That's what you
you
get.
are spot on with that, sir.
You get mediocrity, you get octogenarians spouting off nonsense. One has cognitive decline, the other one's a clown, and these are our president. These are the people we're going to pick for president. So I
And
mean, it's
with
like,
that, that's our final clip. Those are our final thoughts for tonight's
Yes, we're gonna shut it
post
down with that one
presidential
right there.
debate. We appreciate y'all for hanging with us. Hopefully, we'll see you soon for GDL 12. We know it's a lot going on. Everybody, take care of yourselves, and be easy out there. We'll see y'all soon.
peace, y'all.
Peace.